My ex-husband's lawyer pointed at me across the courtroom and declared with absolute certainty, "Your Honor, Mrs. Harrington built that company during her marriage to my client. He supported her dreams, sacrificed his own career, and deserves 50% of everything she created." His mother nodded vigorously from the gallery, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief while mouthing he gave up everything for her, to anyone who would look. But what neither of them knew, what I had been waiting 8 months to reveal in this exact moment, was that my company had been incorporated 14 months before I ever laid eyes on Derek Harrington. And the private investigator's report in my briefcase would show exactly where his sacrifices and late nights supporting my dreams had actually been spent. The judge looked at me expectantly. I smiled and opened my file. I need to explain how I ended up married to a man who would later try to steal everything I had built. My name is Veronica Sloan, and I started my company, Lumina Design Solutions, when I was 26 years old. I was fresh out of a soul-crushing corporate job, exhausted from making other people rich while barely affording my rent, and desperate to build something of my own. I had $8,000 in savings, a laptop that was 3 years past its prime, and a vision for a boutique interior design firm that would serve clients who wanted high-end aesthetics without high-end pretension. I incorporated the business in March 2016, working out of my tiny apartment, taking any job that came my way, slowly building a reputation one satisfied customer at a time. The first year was brutal. I barely broke even. There were months when I ate ramen for every meal and took on side gigs just to make rent. But I kept going, kept building, kept believing that eventually the hard work would pay off. By May 2017, 14 months after incorporation, I had my first major client, a boutique hotel chain that wanted me to redesign 3 of their properties. The contract was worth $340,000 over 18 months. It was the breakthrough I had been waiting for. That same month, I met Derek Harrington at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was charming, handsome, attentive. He asked questions about my work and actually seemed interested in the answers. He told me I was inspiring and driven and exactly the kind of woman he had always dreamed of meeting. I was 27, finally succeeding at something, and desperately lonely from years of grinding alone. I fell hard. We were married within a year. The biggest mistake of my life. At first, the marriage seemed perfect. Derek was supportive, or at least, he performed support. He would bring me coffee during late work nights, tell me how proud he was of my success, introduce me to people as my brilliant wife who built a company from nothing. What I didn't notice, or didn't want to notice, was that his support was entirely verbal. When I needed help with actual tasks, he was always busy. When I asked him to contribute to household expenses, he had excuses. When I suggested he find more stable employment than his sporadic, consulting work, he accused me of not believing in him. "I'm working on something big," he would say, his eyes sliding away from mine. "You'll see. I just need a little more time." Time. That was Derek's favorite currency, always asking for more of it, never spending it on anything productive. Meanwhile, Lumina Design Solutions continued to grow. The hotel contract led to other contracts. I hired my first employee, then my second, then my fifth. By our 3rd wedding anniversary, my company was generating $2.4 million in annual revenue. And Derek was still working on something big. I started noticing inconsistencies in his stories around year 4. He would tell me he was meeting clients, but I would find receipts from bars and restaurants in neighborhoods nowhere near any business district. He would claim late nights, networking, but his phone would be suspiciously silent when I tried to reach him. He would promise to attend important events with me, then cancel at the last minute with elaborate excuses. I wanted to trust him. I had built my entire marriage on trusting him. But I'm not stupid. And I didn't build a successful business by ignoring red flags. I hired a private investigator. The results came back within 3 weeks. Derek had been having an affair for approximately 2 years, not with one woman, but with several. The investigator had documented dates, times, hotel receipts, text messages. He had photographs of Derek entering apartments that weren't ours, kissing women who weren't me, living an entire secret life while I worked 16-hour days to build something real. But the infidelity wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what Derek had been telling these women about his life. According to the investigator's report, Derek had been presenting himself as a successful entrepreneur who was supporting his wife's struggling business while she figured things out. He had borrowed money from at least 2 of his girlfriends, claiming he needed it for investments, and had been living off their generosity while simultaneously living off mine. He had been running a con the entire time. Our marriage wasn't a relationship. It was a long-term grift. I consulted with a divorce attorney before confronting Derek. "If you want to protect your business," she said, "you need to be strategic. Don't let him know you know about the affairs. Don't let him know you're planning to leave. Gather your documentation, secure your assets, and file when you're ready, not when he forces your hand." Her name was Margaret Okonkwo, and she was the best divorce attorney in the city. She had a reputation for being ruthless, thorough, and absolutely unbeatable in court. I hired her immediately. For the next 3 months, I pretended everything was normal. I smiled at Derek over breakfast. I accepted his excuses for late nights. I continued paying for his lifestyle while secretly building an airtight case for divorce. I gathered incorporation documents proving I had started Lumina 14 months before meeting Derek. I compiled financial records showing that my business had been profitable before the marriage and that Derek had never contributed to its operations. I documented every dollar he had spent of my money, every lie he had told, every betrayal he had committed. When I was ready, I filed for divorce and had him served at one of his girlfriend's apartments. The look on his face, according to the process server, was priceless. Derek's response to the divorce filing was immediate and aggressive. He hired an attorney, expensive, flashy, the kind who specialized in protecting men's assets in divorce, and countered with a demand for 50% of everything, including my company. His argument was simple: we had been married for 5 years, Lumina had grown significantly during that time, and he had supported my success by maintaining the household and allowing me to focus on work. Allowing me to focus on work. As if I had needed his permission. As if his absence from responsibility was a gift rather than a burden. The initial hearings were contentious. Derek's lawyer painted a picture of a devoted husband who had sacrificed his own career to support his wife's dreams, only to be cast aside once she no longer needed him. His mother testified that Derek had always put Veronica first and had given up so many opportunities to help me succeed. I sat in the courtroom and listened to lie after lie after lie, my hands clenched under the table, waiting for my turn. Margaret kept telling me to be patient. Let them build their house of cards, she said. We'll knock it down all at once. I trusted her. I waited. The final hearing came 8 months after I filed for divorce. The courtroom was full, Derek's family on one side, my small support system on the other. Derek sat at the plaintiff's table looking confident, almost smug. His lawyer had clearly told him this was going to be easy, that judges always split marital assets, that my company was as good as half his. His lawyer made the opening argument with theatrical confidence. Your Honor, Mrs. Harrington built Lumina Design Solutions during her marriage to my client. Mr. Harrington supported her throughout this process, maintaining their household, providing emotional support, and sacrificing his own career opportunities so that she could pursue her dreams. Under state law, businesses built during marriage are marital assets subject to equitable distribution. We are seeking 50% of Lumina Design Solutions, valued at approximately $6.2 million. His mother nodded from the gallery. Derek straightened his tie. The judge turned to me. Ms. Sloan? Your response? I stood, straightened my jacket, and approached the bench with my file. Your Honor, I'd like to present several documents that directly contradict everything opposing counsel has stated. I handed copies to the judge, to Derek's lawyer, and to the court clerk. First, the incorporation documents for Lumina Design Solutions, dated March 15, 2016. This is 14 months before I met Derek Harrington and 26 months before we married. The company was not built during my marriage, it was built before I knew my ex-husband existed. Derek's face went pale. Second, financial records showing that Lumina was already profitable and growing before the marriage. My first major contract, worth $340,000, was signed in May 2017, the same month I met Derek. The company's success was not built on his support. It was built on my work, my relationships, my reputation, all established before he entered my life. His lawyer was flipping frantically through the documents. Third, I continued, a detailed accounting of Derek's financial contributions to our household over 5 years of marriage. Derek's mother had stopped nodding. But Your Honor, I've saved the most important document for last. I pulled out the private investigator's report. This is a comprehensive investigation into how Derek Harrington actually spent his time during our marriage, the time he claimed to be supporting me and sacrificing for our family. I let the silence stretch for a moment. The report documents a series of extramarital affairs spanning approximately 2 years. It includes dates, locations, photographs, and financial records. It shows that while I was building my company, Derek was spending my money on other women. While he claimed to be networking, he was actually maintaining multiple romantic relationships. While his family testifies that he gave up everything for me, he was actually living a double life funded entirely by my earnings. Derek's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, this is completely. Sit down, the judge said flatly. She was reading through the report, her expression growing grimmer with each page. There's more, I continued. The report also documents that Derek borrowed money from at least 2 of these women under false pretenses, claiming he needed it for business investments. He told them he was a successful entrepreneur supporting his wife's struggling business. He ran the same con on them that he ran on me, presenting himself as something he was in to extract money and support from women who trusted him. I turned to look directly at Derek. You didn't support me. You used me. You treated our marriage as a long-term grift, living off my success while contributing nothing, lying to my face every single day. And now you have the audacity to demand half of something you had no part in building? Derek was sweating visibly. His lawyer was whispering urgently in his ear. His mother had covered her face with her hands. Your Honor, Margaret said, standing to join me, we are not only contesting Mr. Harrington's claim to Lumina Design Solutions, we are seeking full reimbursement for the financial support my client provided throughout the marriage as well as damages for the fraud perpetrated against her. The documentation we've provided proves that this marriage was entered into under false pretenses and maintained through deliberate deception. The judge set down the report and looked at Derek. Mr. Harrington, do you have anything to say in response to these allegations? Derek's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. His lawyer tried to salvage something. Your Honor, we request a recess to review these documents. Request denied. The documents speak for themselves. The judge's voice was ice. I've seen a lot of divorce cases in my career, but this is one of the most egregious examples of attempted financial fraud I've encountered. Mr. Harrington entered this marriage contributing nothing, took everything he could during it, and is now attempting to steal half of a business he had no hand in creating. She straightened the papers on her bench. Regarding the business, Lumina Design Solutions was incorporated 14 months before the parties met and is clearly premarital property. Mr. Harrington's claim is denied in its entirety. Derek's face crumpled. Regarding the division of marital assets, based on the evidence presented, including Mr. Harrington's documented infidelity, financial exploitation, and failure to contribute to the marriage, I am awarding Ms. Sloan the marital residence, all joint accounts, and reimbursement for documented expenses paid on Mr. Harrington's behalf during the marriage. His mother let out a strangled sob. Regarding spousal support, Mr. Harrington's request for alimony is denied. Given his pattern of fraud and deception, I find that he is not entitled to any ongoing support from Ms. Sloan. The judge looked at Derek with unconcealed contempt. Mr. Harrington, you should count yourself lucky that Ms. Sloan is not pursuing criminal fraud charges for the money you extracted from other women under false pretenses. I strongly suggest you take this outcome and move on with your life, preferably in a more honest direction. She banged her gavel. Court is adjourned. The aftermath was chaos. Derek's lawyer rushed him out of the courtroom before reporters could reach him. Yes, reporters, because Margaret had tipped off a few journalist contacts who were interested in covering a story about divorce fraud and marriage cons. The story ran in 3 local outlets that week, including one that featured the private investigator's findings in detail. Derek's mother cornered me in the hallway. How could you do this? She hissed. You've destroyed him. You've destroyed our family. I didn't destroy anything, I said calmly. Derek did that himself. I just documented it. She looked like she wanted to slap me. I almost wished she would. Margaret was standing right there, and a recorded assault would have been the cherry on top of our case. But she just turned and stormed away, her heels clicking furiously on the courthouse floor. I never saw any of the Harringtons again. In the months after the divorce, I learned the full extent of Derek's deceptions. He had been conning women since before me. I was just the most successful one, the jackpot he thought he had finally hit. He had a pattern: find a woman who was ambitious and trusting, present himself as supportive and devoted, then gradually extract whatever value he could while contributing nothing. 2 of his former girlfriends reached out to me after the news coverage. They had similar stories, falling for his charm, supporting him financially, eventually discovering that everything he had told them was lies. One of them had given him $15,000 for a business opportunity that didn't exist. The other had co-signed a lease he had stopped paying after 3 months, destroying her credit. We formed an unlikely support group, these women and I. We compared notes, shared evidence, helped each other heal from the experience of being conned by the same man. Eventually, we coordinated with law enforcement. Derek was charged with fraud in connection with the money he had taken from other women under false pretenses. He pleaded guilty to reduced charges and was sentenced to 18 months in prison plus restitution. It wasn't enough. It's never enough when someone systematically exploits the people who trusted them. But it was something. That was 3 years ago. Lumina Design Solutions is now worth $14 million. We've expanded to 3 offices, employed 47 people, and completed projects on 3 continents. The company I built from nothing, before Derek, during Derek, after Derek, continues to grow. I've been in therapy, working through the trauma of discovering that my marriage was a lie. It's not easy. There are days when I still feel stupid for not seeing it sooner, for believing in someone who was only pretending to believe in me. But my therapist reminds me that I'm not the one who did something wrong. Derek chose to deceive me. He chose to exploit my trust. He chose to build his life on lies rather than doing the actual work of being a partner. That's on him. Not on me. People sometimes ask me if I regret marrying Derek. The question is complicated. If I hadn't married him, I wouldn't have wasted 5 years of my life on a man who was using me. I wouldn't have paid for his lifestyle, made excuses for his failures, believed in his potential while he contributed nothing. But if I hadn't married him, I also wouldn't have learned to trust my own instincts, to recognize the red flags I had been ignoring, to value myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't deserve me. The experience taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way, that no one is entitled to the success you build with your own hands. Not your spouse. Not your family. Not anyone. I built Lumina Design Solutions. I did the work, took the risks, made the sacrifices. No one can take that away from me, not through charm, not through manipulation, not through legal maneuvering. The company was mine before Derek. It was mine during Derek. And it's mine after Derek. Last month, I was speaking at a conference for women entrepreneurs, and someone in the audience asked how I had handled my ex-husband's attempt to take half my business. I told her what I've told you. And then I added this. Documentation is your best friend. Keep records of everything, incorporation dates, financial contributions, business decisions. Keep them even if you think you don't need them. Even if your marriage seems happy. Even if you trust your partner completely. I paused. Because trust is wonderful. Trust is necessary for any relationship. But trust without verification is just hope. And hope doesn't hold up in court. The audience laughed. But I wasn't joking. I learned the hard way that the people closest to you can be the biggest threats to everything you've built. I learned that charm can hide emptiness, that promises can cover lies, that the person sleeping beside you can be planning to take everything you have. Derek walked into that courtroom expecting to walk out with half my company. He had convinced himself that his deceptions would hold, that his claims would stick, that his carefully constructed narrative of the sacrificing husband would win over the judge. He was wrong. Because I had the receipts. The documents. The evidence. He had only lies. And in the end, the truth always comes out. I'm single now, and happy about it. I date occasionally, but I'm in no rush. I've learned to be cautious, to trust slowly, to require actions instead of accepting words. Any future partner will have to earn my trust through consistency, through contribution, through showing up in ways that matter. I won't be fooled again. But I also won't close myself off to love entirely. Derek doesn't get to have that power over me. He already took 5 years of my life. He doesn't get to take my future too. My company is thriving. My friendships are strong. My life is full. And somewhere in a minimum security prison, my ex-husband is probably still telling people that he sacrificed everything for a woman who didn't appreciate him. Some people never change. Fortunately, I'm not some people. I'm the woman who built a $14 million company, survived a con artist husband, and walked out of divorce court with everything I deserved. And I'm just getting started.